I'm going to tell you what, you talk about SummerSlam being tomorrow night. Here's the deal. Tomorrow, I'm going to take the U.S. title, but as collateral tonight, we'll joyride in this beauty. We're going to have a good one. I hit all the speed bumps, might ding it a couple times. Don't worry about it. We'll have it back to you in just wonderful condition. Logan, tomorrow night, U.S. title reign ends. And all hail the new champ with everybody saying, L.A. Knight. Yeah!
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
They're already wishing death on Triple H. You know, it was funny. A couple of weeks ago, Kev and I were pondering, WWE SummerSlam, they're going to be in Cleveland. Did they put the belts on DIY so there would be an even bigger reaction for Johnny Gargano when he loses the championship to the Bloodline? We did not think that was going to happen. Remember, the DIY, they're going to get their shot. And now you look back on it, and it was all designed just to make that win by the Bloodline, that evil Bloodline, feel that much worse. I got news for you, man. Jacob Fatu is a badass in that ring. And when he's hitting those moves on Johnny Gargano at the end of SmackDown tonight, that wasn't a fluke win. That is a werewolf just going nuts in that ring. Listen, I want to make this clear. He doesn't do anything that others could not do. He's not, this larger-than-life being. But he damn does great at what he does, and it looks so slick and smooth in that ring and powerful, and it's just boom, 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 boom. You don't know what the fuck hit you. I tell you, it's almost like a tornado. It just out of nowhere just hits you, and you didn't see it coming, and it just leaves a ton of damage in a matter of seconds. So, but I tell you, you think of the storyline and you say to yourself, why would the Usos, Roman Reigns, obviously SummerSlam, maybe, it's not a lock, but why would the Usos just sit back and allow, even Jimmy Uso, allow these guys to mock the tribal chief Roman Reigns, put Jimmy Uso on the shelf, and they just sit back and allow the Rogue Bloodline to run roughshot in the WWE and now win tag team championship gold. Yeah, it's a little shoddy, I know everybody out there wants to do cinema when it comes to Triple H. Understand something. You could have great storylines, but it's the wrestlers themselves that have to execute those storylines in the ring. You could have a great storyline, but if those wrestlers cannot act it out, it's not going to be all that over. And then you have wrestlers, even when you think of Sami Zayn in the Bloodline way back when, WWE never expected Sami Zayn to get not only as over as he did, but have such a huge predominant role in the Bloodline. So much so that, if you've been tuning into Monday shows, what Kev's been saying for quite some time now, Sami Zayn may be the only member in this Bloodline Civil War games at Survivor Series that may actually not be Bloodline. Interesting. Listen, I've been watching wrestling since 79. No promotion is perfect. No booker is perfect. No creative team is perfect. No show is perfect. No pay-per-view, no premium live event, no house show is perfect. But if we are entertained overall, then I think we get our money's worth. So, of course, we could nitpick and pull out a lot of aspects of this story. And look, when you talk about the Judgment Day, what did I say for a couple of months? Rhea Ripley didn't have a brain aneurysm. She didn't have a blood clot that prevented her from flying. Why in storyline would she just sit at home for a couple of months and watch the Judgment Day implode? Even though they're kind of like smooth right now, a few days will change that. But why would she just sit back and allow all that disarray? Why would she sit back and allow? Of course, creative-wise, has nothing to do with her. But we could find holes in almost everything. But at the end of the day, Roman Reigns is going to be back very, very shortly. The Usos are going to be back very, very shortly. Paul Heyman will be back very, very shortly. And this Bloodline Civil War games could start building. And you know what? We will quickly forget the fact that DIY never really was considered, this big push to finally take it to the next level. They were put in that placeholder because they were the perfect people to lose the tag team championships to the Bloodline in Cleveland. Simple as that. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to the sit down with yours truly, Don Tony. It is August 2nd, 2024. We are less than 24 hours away from SummerSlam. It's going to be a phenomenal show. 7 matches, a couple of surprises planned. It's little twists and turns and swerves. It's going to be a phenomenal pay-per-view. I am really looking forward to it. If you're a member of our channel members here on YouTube or our Patreon family, you have until the end of this show to get your entries in for the predictions contests. So good luck to everybody who is going to be part of that. And I hope everybody's been enjoying my daily news updates that we've been doing over the last, 8 days? We do them every day with the exception of Tuesday mornings and Saturday mornings. The reason why we don't do it those 2 mornings is because Monday night we do the DTKC show. We cover some news there. And obviously with the sit down here, if we need to cover anything, we cover it here. So there's really no need to do daily news updates these days. I will tell you this, based on the thumbnail for tonight's show, I could tell that quite a few of you out there did not tune in to my wrestling news update for today, Friday, August 2nd, because if you tuned in, you already know my demeanor about the divorce that Justine Mercedes Renato. Surprised at how many people did not know Mercedes Renato, Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. Her first name is Justine. I'm surprised a lot of people did not know that, but the divorce that she filed in court a couple of days ago against her husband, and we talked about it already. And obviously I'm putting it here because there's more to get into, especially the nonsense that is going on social media right now about this. I'll open up with that, and then we will go right to the floor, talk about whatever you want to talk about tonight. But I want to put this out there right in the beginning. For those that have been under a rock the last 36 hours, Mercedes Moné filed divorce against her husband. I found it cute that every wrestling news outlet out there put like a tiny little box of a screenshot, acting as if they got the exclusive from TMZ, from any wrestling news source out there. No, the news came from the court system. And, I wanted to see the court documents. I wanted to see what the reasons were. as far as filing for divorce. It was only a few weeks ago that Mercedes Moné did an interview, and I still feel that interview was more in character to put over that she is just a conceited bitch. But when she was talking about her husband, like making this awful outfit and everything, a lot of people like, wow, she's throwing him under the bus. So I wanted to see these court documents to try to get a feel as far as what's going on. Is this going to be a messy, messy divorce? Or is it going to just fly through the court system with no issues whatsoever? And if you've paid attention the last 36 hours and a lot of news outlets out there trying to insinuate that Mercedes Moné is now like sleeping with people in AEW and now she could finally, go with others. We revealed a few things on the Daily News Update today, and I want to show you something because I think it's very important to understand the truth with here. Yeah, we can spice it up with bullshit, but the fact of the matter is this is not a spicy story. I'm sorry to tell you, it is not a spicy story. Now, court filings for divorce is public information. What I'm about to show you is public information. The only reason why Kev and I got it, and still to this moment, no one else has gotten what we got, is because people don't know where to look, or people don't want to waste or spend the time looking, setting up accounts, downloading things, accepting agreements that you're not going to, put out there real personal information like social security numbers and home addresses and, assets. There are assets involved in this. You put the basics. So what I'm going to show everybody on the video side of things, our channel members already saw this yesterday, but on the video side of things, I want to show you two things very important with this. And let's take this thumbnail down. This is what was filed in the court on the 30th of July. Dissolution of marriage. And, obviously, Mercedes Varnado is the one that is filed this in court. Sarath Ton is her husband. He is the one that, is, I don't like using the term defendant, but Mercedes is the one that filed this in court. But something more important that I want to show you, and that's this, okay? I can't show you the actual documents. I will get my ass in trouble, and even if I didn't get my ass in trouble, I would be an absolute asshole to put really personal information public. I made that mistake a long time ago. A lot of you may remember Perry Saturn was feared to be dead. And when I put the article out way back when that he no-sold bullets, yeah, I was the author of that article. And then he disappeared. A lot of people, because I did skip tracing when I used to work in collections back in the 90s, people were like, ADT, see if Perry Saturn is dead. And unfortunately, my research and investigating not only found Perry Saturn, but I ended up getting phone calls from his ex-wife and lawyers wanting to pretty much have this guy arrested for unpaid alimony and unpaid this. And, he didn't show up at Cronus's funeral, and there was legal reasons behind that. And I put a lot of that shit out there. I got the divorce papers. I saw what he was accused of, and I got my ass handed to me. And in hindsight, I absolutely should not have put that much information out there about Perry Saturn. I made a huge mistake way back when. We'll never do that again. So what I'm showing you right now is public information. I'm not going to show you the specific documents, but what is very, very important of what you're looking at right now is that this divorce appears to be amicable. It appears to be accepted on both sides. There are no attorneys involved really going forward. Were attorneys involved in getting to this point? Absolutely. But this is not being contested by Mercedes' husband. He is not contesting whatever asset agreement they came up with. This is something that was filed in the court. The news place is saying that Mercedes finalized her divorce. No, the court finalizes the divorce. They're still married. I want to make that clear. but it looks like this is completely amicable on both sides. There's nothing being fought here. There's nothing being disputed here. There's nothing being contested here. And there's something else that I have to tell you that I think is the most important part of this. And by the way, what do you think of my photoshopping? Because her rings always say Mercedes talk. Oh, Monet talks, money talks. I changed it and I put Monet walks. You know, she walked away from a marriage. Now, that's just a joke. But let me say this. I'm going to throw a little factoid out there, a little factoid that people are intentionally ignoring because they want this story to be sexy. What if I told you that Mercedes Varnado and her husband have not been together since before Biden became president? They have been separated since late 2020. We are in 2024. Now, Mercedes, to be fair, Mercedes went on YouTube. Yeah, see, a lot of people didn't know that. Mercedes went on YouTube yesterday and briefly brought up a little bit as to why that this divorce was not done sooner and why the separation was not public at the time. And one of the things is Vince McMahon, Road to WrestleMania, storylines going on at the time. And she didn't want this to be this to interfere in any way, shape, or form. No distractions, no nothing. So these two have been separated for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. So when people are like, oh, now she can, fool around whatever she wants in AEW, this, that, which is just stupid. What are you in kindergarten? Well, then again, kindergarten kids don't talk like that. What are you in high school? If she has been involved with anybody, it could have happened over the last 4 years. Same thing for him. They have been separated for almost 4 years. That is a very, very important part of this that no one is talking about because they want to keep it sexy. They want to keep it like, oh, he was a cuckold or she was a cuckold. And she used him because he did gear and this and that. You don't know. And listen, I'm not the biggest Mercedes Monet fan, obviously. I think she's doing a much better job in AEW right now than she was 2 months ago. But I will say this, you, me, everyone out there, no one has any goddamn clue what went on in that relationship. Just because someone is a worldwide star and she is sexy and she does the moves and she is, everything that she has built over these years doesn't mean that she didn't have a good relationship with her husband. I don't know. I don't know their relationship, and neither do you. And anybody out there trying to insinuate something is just trying to use you for hits, views, ad revenue, just to try to put dirt out there. So I wanted to throw that out there right at the beginning because no one else is going to bring that up unless they bring it up. I wanted to share that with you. So look, it sucks that anybody splits up as far as relationship goes. Look, the rumor the last 24 hours or so is that Adam Cole and Britt Baker split up. And for everyone out there that has heard that and is about to ask me my thoughts on that, I'm going to nip that shit in the bud right up front by saying this. Where that rumor came from was Adam Cole not gaming recently. And Adam Cole yesterday posted to his followers, where I don't know if it's Twitch or whatever it is, and told them that he has been in the process of moving from Florida to Pennsylvania. And in that paragraph, he also said that he is in the process of moving by himself. Now, people said, what do you mean by yourself? You mean the Brit's not moving with you? Well, by yourself could mean that my brother, my father, my friends, no one's helping me. I didn't hire a moving company. It could mean anything. I'm not going to sit here and comment about their relationship when no one has a fucking clue if they have split up or not. But I wanted to also give you that too, because a lot of people out there are really trying to spin this. And I figured you would like to know a little bit of honesty with this. So there you go. As far as I know, Mercedes' husband still works for the WWE. I haven't heard anything different. But then again, like, why would I research him? You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about gear or anything like that. I mean, I can look it up. I'll let you all know in the next show. Oh, and by the way, last Friday we had a little bit of a fuck up here on this show, just to say it bluntly. I was going to show you some very rare footage of yours truly, the first time I ever did something on camera in wrestling back in 2006. The video was able to be played, but there was no audio attached to it. I still have not figured out how to screenshot the audio and the video because of the way, this streams online. But when I told you that Richard Ramirez, I think that's his name, forgive me, it's late, Rich, if I make a mistake, he actually reached out to me. He's the one that let me know about the footage. He actually has the DVD. So he, this week, is going to burn the video into his computer and send it to me in MP4 format. So I will be able to stream this for you next week or the week after at the latest. So I don't have to do anything else. He's got the DVD. I don't have to screen capture nothing. He's just going to burn it into his computer, rip it into his computer, send me the file, and then I'll share it with all of you. So Psycho says that Mercedes' husband still does work for the WWE. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything different, but, they haven't been again, if you really want to screw with someone's mind, just tell them that they haven't been a couple since before Biden became president. Say it like that, and they'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, that actually is true. That is true. So, SmackDown tonight. Hey, I got to mention this. We all knew this was happening. And it was funny because we said it's going to be pink. There's going to be little crystals, and it's going to be all dolled up. And sure enough, Tiffany Stratton got her briefcase. Well, let's make the picture a little bit better. She got her briefcase, and the briefcase looks exactly like we thought it was going to be, all tricked up in pink and little stones and everything. If there's any negative about that, is that it's so nice and it fits her persona so perfectly. Kind of realize she ain't cashing that shit in the immediate future. She ain't cashing that in. So for everyone out there that thinks that Nia will win at SummerSlam and then Tiffany will cash in on Nia at SummerSlam, and before you know it, Nia is only a champion for about 5 minutes like Drew McIntyre was, I don't see Tiffany cashing in that briefcase anytime soon. Psycho says it looks nice. Everything in that picture looks nice. And I'm into brunettes. I'm not even into blondes. So, Andrade beating Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown tonight. They let them go about 16, 17 minutes. Excellent match. But when do we acknowledge the fact that Carmelo has lost about 80% of his matches since he's been brought to SmackDown? Yes, look, he's got a bright future. There's no question about it. But my God, there's so much goddamn smoke and mirrors going on that nobody talks about. I still think back to Ivar, and I think back to Otis, and I think back to others that have only had maybe like 1 or 2 wins in singles action over the last year. It's kind of wild. No one had a clue what we said about even Sonya Deville. That was kind of shocking when we revealed that little tidbit. But Bobby Means says that this is a sad publicity stunt by Mercedes to try to get back at WWE because she didn't get away. You see, all the money is getting to her head, and I thought he knew her, but now it's sad. Now, this divorce has nothing to do with WWE. It has nothing to do with publicity. This is something that has been dormant for almost 4 years. And they finally decided, let's finalize this. Listen, again, we don't know what's going on in their private lives. But I'll say this, and I know this might sound a little bit over the top, but think about it for a minute. How many of you out there know someone who met someone and married them within a year? How many of you? There's got to be some of you out there that know somebody. Maybe some of you yourselves might have met someone and got married or engaged within a year. These two have been separated for almost 4 years. For all you know, Mercedes' husband could be in another relationship right now. For all you know, Mercedes could be in another relationship right now. I mean, obviously, her would be a little bit more unlikely because by now somebody would have spotted something. But my point is, it's been sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting. And sooner or later, you got to just go ahead and end it. For 4 years, I mean, you get a little bit lazy. This is not something you fill out 2 pieces of paper. Again, you look at this page, for example. Look at that page, for example. That is the overall summary. Now, I have all the documents that represent those dockets. You add them up. There's about 40 pages of documents there. This is not something that you write overnight. This is something very, very complicated, very, very thorough. There's a lot of financial aspects to it. And this is something that they just sat on for 4 years and then finally tackled it. So no, this has nothing to do with pro wrestling. This is just a relationship that 2 people either, just got distant with each other and, just fell out of love. It could be something else, we don't know. But there's nothing WWE related or anything wrestling related with this. So, all right. Let's get into a couple of super shout outs. And one of them, yeah. You see over the last 24 hours why I don't even like tweeting anymore. I chimed in on the controversy that happened at the Olympics with Iman Khalif and who's the other player, Angela Carini from Italy, that boxing match. Logan Paul, totally fucked up. Pat McAfee, totally fucked up. I didn't even know about Lacey Evans, but I looked it up after this person brought it to my attention. Jimmy James with a 10 spot says, Logan Paul, Pat McAfee, and Lacey Evans could not wait to ignorantly label Iman Khalif as a transgender man. Why do I think none of them apologized even after they were proven wrong? Listen, I chimed in my opinion on this situation. And I understood no matter what I say, there's going to be people that are going to troll. There's going to be people that don't know how to read. There's going to be some people that only want to, read what they want to see. And I know that there's some people that will just really, just whack jobs, both sides. And, Ralph Ramirez is in the chat. So he probably sent the video. So yeah, next week, Ralph. Thank you, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I went on Twitter yesterday. A lot of people were sending DMs for the next DTKC show, Patreon. Hey, DT, what do you think about what happened in the Olympics in that boxing match? What do you think about what Logan Paul said? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And just, it was a huge fucking story on Thursday. So I commented on it. Now, Rob says he already sent the footage. All right, I'm going to go check it out. I didn't see anything come in, but I will definitely check it right after the show. I promise you that. And if I don't see anything for any reason, I'll DM you on Patreon. Thank you again. How do you resolve this issue? And what do you think happened with the Olympics? Now, of course, we're just wrestling fans. We're not these big political people or scientific people or, those with big social media influence. We're just regular people trying to understand what the fuck is going on. And this is what I take about it. I don't have the picture of Iman Khalif from the boxer. I don't think I do. I had it yesterday when I was preparing for the Friday morning update, but I don't have it in his computer right now. A lot of you have seen the picture. All right. For those that don't know the backstory, and I'll just say it quickly, there is a boxer from Italy by the name of Angelo Carini. I'm 99% Italian. So I root for my Italianos in the Olympics, soccer, FIFA, and all that stuff. So if there was anybody that would root for Angelo Carini, it would be me. There's a big backstory with her about her father passing away and how she fought to get where she is at the Olympics. She was going to win it for her father. Very, very big inspirational story going into the Olympics. A lot of people knew it. Well, Angelo Carini gets into a boxing match with someone by the name of Iman Khalif. Was it Algeria, everyone? Algeria or Bulgaria? I think it's Algeria. Just somebody in the chat clarify that for me because I don't want to get the country wrong. But she ends up getting paired up against someone by the name of Iman Khalif. When I saw Iman Khalif, honestly, Algeria, thank you very much, Austin and Craig. Algeria. When I saw her, my first reaction was, she looks like Sonya Deville. Seriously, she look like Sonya Deville. The muscles, I didn't think it was manly at all. In fact, some UFC fight between two women just went down about a week or two ago, and they were just as built as her. I didn't think there was that much going on. Well, anyway, Iman Khalif punched her right in the face, and she forfeited within 45 seconds. And when the match ended, because Iman Khalif is kind of flat-chested, some people feel that there's some masculinity to her. A lot of people immediately said, motherfucker, transgender man just beat an Italian woman who lost her father. Inspirational story. Iman Khalif, biggest heel. All she did was dominate in a boxing match. So after the match is over, Iman Khalif goes to pat. She pats Angelo Carini on the back. She goes to shake her hand. Angelo Carini wants nothing of it. So right away, everybody's got to make a fucking political statement about it. And the biggest loudmouth of them all was Logan Paul. Now, as a wrestling fan, I appreciate what Logan Paul has done in that ring. He takes wrestling seriously. He works really hard at it. As a wrestling fan, I appreciate that. But as I said this morning, words matter, especially when you have 10 million followers across a bunch of social media platforms. And he calls this vile, disgusting, and this and that. Meanwhile, he has no goddamn idea that this person is a female. And yeah, she might have some issues with chromosomes, but she was born a woman. She's not taking male hormones. All right. Yeah. I brought up this morning's report. I brought up Brock Lesnar's daughter. It's not the greatest example of it, but how many of you out there saw people 3-4 months ago say, wow, she looks like a man? I swear I thought that was his son. If you didn't know anything about Brock Lesnar's daughter and she had a fight, decent number of people would be like, that's transgender. You know, just because someone looks a little bit masculine doesn't mean that they are. And, you know, he opened his mouth and he fucked up. And once he realized that he made a huge mistake calling this person vile, the person didn't do anything wrong, to be honest with you, he writes on social media, oopsies. That video that I played at the beginning of this episode with LA Knight, if you go to his tweet, that video, what does he have as the title? Oopsies. So some people within the WWE took shots at Logan Paul without mentioning his name, because obviously every wrestling fan that will grab the popcorn and push a war between individuals that got upset. Listen, Sami Zayn wrote something and everybody and their mother is convinced that Sami Zayn was directing it towards Logan Paul. Isla Dawn and others wrote things yesterday, and a lot of people think it was directed directly to Logan Paul. Yeah, they don't mention their names, and I don't expect them to mention their names because you're not going to stir up and totally turn upside down people in the company. It's fucked up, but that's the way it is. So he goes oopsies. And as Jimmy just said, Pat McAfee opened his mouth early. And then Lacey Evans also retweeted about the transgender. And once they were wrong, found wrong, they did not apologize. Why is that? The reason why Logan Paul doesn't flat out apologize is because he is a product of today's society. All right. That guy can't just sit back and be a man. Jake Paul, I kind of have a little more respect for, although Jake Paul is kind of stupid as well because he wanted to invite that Angela Carini to, fight in one of his events or this and that. And as much as I rooted for Angela Carini coming from Italy, why are you going out of your way? She lost a fucking Olympic match. Can you imagine these motherfuckers when Mike Tyson beat the balls off of people that trained all their life to get to the Olympics? Sugar Ray Leonard in the late 70s. Boom, 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 fucking people up. Can you imagine these snowflakes today reacting to those people? They can't use the transgender, but they feel so guilty about Angela Carini. She lost the match. That's it. Iman Khalif lost 9 fights to women before this. What's the story here? Somebody lost. You feel bad for her. Buy her a teddy bear. Go home and train again. And when people look at the size difference, well, maybe Angela Carini should not be boxing in the Olympics then. How many people out there train to be an Olympic star, but you're too small, or you're too short, or you're not strong enough, or you're not fast enough? Just because I train to be a runner, if I can't run quick, even though you feel bad for me, doesn't mean that I should run. That's what this is, plain and simple. Why do I think they didn't apologize? Because a lot of these people are pussies, plain and simple. Somebody asked me earlier today, do I think Logan Paul and Pat McAfee will have any repercussions in WWE? And the answer is no. This is Endeavor WWE, TKO Group Holdings WWE it's away with. This is not your, we gotta, make all the families happy and the parent-teacher council happy and all the groups happy. This is not that WWE anymore. Vince McMahon totally fucked up, obviously. But one thing you will look back on is that the previously owned WWE catered more for family, PC, political correctness, and riding that fine line. Look at Liv Morgan today at the SummerSlam press conference or whatever it was. And people were losing their shit at the outfit that she had on. And you could see the cheeks of her ass underneath her black outfit. And my reaction was, she shows her ass off in a bikini. If she puts on the black pants and walks down the thing, it's the same thing. I have no problem with it. But I'm saying this is not that WWE anymore. There's this mentality. You look at the Dana Whites and others, they get away with this shit. Vince McMahon, before this lawsuit and before the feds started investigating how he spent that money, TKO Group Holdings and Ari Emanuel and Endeavor, they all were willing to put Vince McMahon as the chairman, knowing what's been going on. The motherfucker stepped down 2 years ago before the sale was done. And they brought him back. Of course, he obviously was the number one guy to sell the company. But as part of that sale, you could sit. You could be in a position of power. That lawsuit was never filed. Vince would still be there right now. He might have had to step away because of the feds investigating stuff. But just understand that. They allowed Vince to come back. So this is why there's not going to be any repercussions. For some reason, these people are afraid to just be human and say, look, I fucked up. I honestly bought into what everybody was saying. I thought others did their research. Yeah, unfortunately, if you're going to open your mouth and you have that big of a following like Pat McAfee and Logan Paul, you better do your own fucking research. Just because you got millions and millions and millions of people following you doesn't mean that you don't take 5 minutes out of your time and do a little fucking Google searching and researching and say, before I open my fucking mouth and understand that there's half the country that maybe I better see for myself. That's why I didn't fucking fall into it. I looked. I did research. Then I saw what happened. I felt bad for that girl. Here's a Coke and a smile. Feel better. Suck it up. You lost. It was a fair fight. Now, I went on social media yesterday and I offered my opinion how we could possibly resolve this going forward. And I said, have 3 groups: women versus women, men versus men, transgender versus transgender. And I get it. There are very few transgenders in sports. So there's not enough to have its own group or division. But like I pointed out to somebody this morning, the last boxing event that went down, there were 10 matches on the card. 2 featured women. So even if you have 1 match on a card that features transgender versus transgender, you avoid confusion in the future. If you have a separate division, it avoids confusion in the future. Problem is, like I said, there's not enough athletes to have its own group. So, whether it's men, women, transgender. So there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect answer. But what you can learn about listen, the reason why Iman Khalif is so hated right now is because people felt so bad for Angela Carini. But, as somebody sent to me, and I did not know this, and I actually checked before we went live, and you were absolutely right. Sal sent a 5 spot and said, DT, heard your update this morning. Just so you know, Angela Carini apologized to Iman Khalif for not shaking her hand after forfeiting the fight. That's good on her. That's good on I did research after you posted that earlier, and what I learned is that she was just very, very emotional because she felt she let herself down, she let her father down, and she was just very, very upset at it. So good for her, but just totally unnecessary, the bullshit that went down in the last 24 hours. What's really sad about it, though? There are a lot of people out there that hope Iman Khalif is a man. Just let that sink in. Think about that they're hoping that it is transgender so they could create all this wild controversy about it. Listen, the Olympics are fucked up. You look at that opening ceremony. Why insult any religion? Any religion. Why? Why insult any religion? When I saw that opening ceremony, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I don't care if my Hall of Fame wrestlers come back to life and somehow they all compete in the Paris Olympics. Kurt Angle, I don't care who. I don't care if Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle show up at the Olympics and fucking won gold. I still wouldn't have watched. So, all right. I think we can move on from that unless you guys still have anything you want to bring up a little bit later on. That's fine with me. We'll open up the floor to all of you right now. I'm going to give a nice little shout out to Ronnie C. Thank you for bringing back the daily updates. I'm an OG Blackhearts guy, and I love the Blackhearts hotline. Can you post an old Blackhearts hotline report? Yes, I can. Fair warning, though, the audio is awful. I have Blackhearts hotline reports that go back to 1999. But understand, we did those reports only through the telephone. The internet did not have the capability of doing audio at that time. So the audio that I happened to save back then, just picture talking through your telephone. That's the kind of audio quality. I tried boosting it up with AI. I think some of you remember the 5-minute clip that I played like 7-8 months ago, and we just sounded like mechanical. I was shocked at how good AI improved the audio, but we didn't sound natural anymore. So it was kind of funny, actually. But yeah, I will definitely post something. I'll work on it next week and post 1 or 2 updates. And what you all get a kick out of is you'll hear me doing wrestling hotlines 25 years ago, and I was the drizzling shits. I don't think I'm all that great now, but drizzling shits. You will fall asleep in 5 minutes. You'll be like, what the fuck am I listening to? It's that bad. I don't understand why people tuned in as much as they did 25 years ago, but I will definitely share that. Umar is in the house. Umar, thank you for the 10 pounds to the 265 pounder, 270. DT, do you feel if AEW becomes more insignificant that the toxicity of the extreme AEW elitists will fade away? I never thought TNA fans were this bad. Tony Khan is a major problem with this fan base. Look, I'm not trying to be nicey to AEW. This is not the majority of their fan base. It is a core nucleus of whack jobs. I mean, I get it. You know, Bischoff and Russo and others are having a field day with this right now. But a lot of you remember back in the day, Kevin I in the mid-2000s. Ring of Honor, I played the intro actually about 2 months ago. Ring of Honor fanboys, Yaki, remember all that stuff? Ring of Honor fanboy whack jobs. We were saying that 18 years ago. Ring of Honor fans back then, you know, very passionate for the Ring of Honor product, but there was that core nucleus of people out there that are kind of like what it is today about cage match ratings. And listen, there's nothing wrong with cage match ratings. I think everything should have a base rating. You get an overall pulse of how people perceive somebody's work. Remember, wrestling is entertainment. Whether it's Ring of Honor, GCW, MLW, WWE, TNA, NXT, AEW, New Japan, All Japan, No Japan, they're all entertainment. If the match is scripted, they're all entertainment. No matter how realistic it gets, and no matter how much you think somebody truly hates their opponent, it is still entertainment. So when you see ratings, cage match ratings, that is good because it gives you the overall pulse on how good somebody's doing their job. It's like Kev said on Monday. Kev has nothing against Gunther. Gunther is badass to me. Gunther is one of my favorites. Gunther is my top 5 favorites right now in the WWE. But as Kev points out, Gunther's not this amateur wrestler, collegiate, big-time superstar that went into pro wrestling. This was a fat guy, extremely fat guy that got into wrestling, got himself in shape, honed his skills, took it very seriously, worked his ass off, and has earned every minute of what he's getting now. But Gunther is a sports entertainer, whether you all like it or not. He's just a different style of it. Some people are more into the realism of wrestling. Some people are more about the spectacle. Some people are more about the storyline, the soap opera, the cinema. Some people think that Hogan Andre was the main event of WrestleMania 3, and some people think that Savage Steamboat, was the true main event of WrestleMania 3. It's however you perceive wrestling, and there's no wrong answer. But as far as AEW goes, it's a very, 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 very small group of people that act like this. When you look at those crowds in AEW, almost everybody you're watching sitting in that audience are not these whack jobs on social media that have a really, really fragile ego. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, I get it. For a lot of these big wrestling podcasts out there that have to milk this for years about AEW and fans and toxicity and this and that, when Kevin and I have been covering this for 18 years, 20 years with Ring of Honor and TNA and now AEW, even MLW. A lot of people forget the toxicity with MLW in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003. I went to the first ever MLW show. And the reason why I went to the first MLW show, just to say it bluntly, and I'm sorry for being explicit about it, is because Matt Zombie was dealing Percocet and drugs at the time. And in fact, if you go back and you watch Vampiro's match, I don't think it was edited out, you'll hear people in the crowd going, Vicodin, Oxycontin, Percocet, Oxy. That was us. And there was even a point where he looked and he's like, Shane Douglas took on Steve Corino. We were hanging out. We were putting flyers in the parking lot, in the back and the sides, because I was promoting XPW at the time. So I was there for the first MLW show. But MLW, when it went to Florida, became toxic. And a lot of you remember, and that's why I always have my anger towards Mike Johnson and Court Bauer and others. I mean, that's 20 years ago. It doesn't bother me now. I have nothing against those guys. But what I'm saying is that what it comes down to is that the people you see online that are just weird with AEW, or used to be weird with TNA, used to be weird with Ring of Honor, most of these people have very, very, very fragile egos. And I'm not trying to make fun of, call anybody names right now, but I'm going to make a point. They have this fragile ego, is that they know that WWE is better. They know that WWE is bigger. They have to be on equal playing field. They have to be perceived as the alternative. They have to be put in the same sentence as WWE because it makes them feel like they have that worth. TNA back in the day was this big. And they insisted to push the issue, that we're the WWE alternative. We're the WWE alternative. They do Cookie Gate. Oh, WWE's in town. We'll make them cookies. And people in the WWE like, get away. It's like a mosquito. You like, and it just keeps coming back. Get away. We don't want nothing to do with you. Tony Khan did the Death Before Dishonor media call. And I thought the media call was great until he turns around and says, WWE PR is leaking out our TV deal stuff. Motherfucker, if you're going to make claims like that, fanboy, make names. Don't say WWE PR. That's not a human being. That is a department. Who in PR is making those claims? If you can't say who it is, maybe you're being lied to, Tony. So the people out there that do this, Umar, and everybody else, these are people that have fragile egos. They don't like being a far distant number two. They don't like having ratings plummet. They don't like having ticket sales. Now we got to call it tickets distributed because you can't no longer just say how many tickets are sold because it's very, very fucking low. Why say we only sold 800 tickets where we could say we distributed 1,500? But you don't say how many of the tickets were sold and how many of the tickets were given away. You've seen this years ago when ratings for TNA went from 0.8. If you remember, Aces at 0.8, so we made famous. It went from 0.8 to 0.6 to 0.4 to 377,000 viewers. Why did they do that? Because 377,000 viewers sounded bigger than 0.6. You look at the demos right now. How come the overall viewership for AEW is 744,000? But when it comes to the demo, they don't say 262,000 in the demo. No, they say 0.34, 0.26, 0.17. Why don't they tell you that? Because 0.21 sounds bigger than 240,000 viewers. Only 240 and 18 to 30. You mean to tell me 200 and something thousand people are the ones that are influencing how the TV deal is, isn't it? This is just fragile people who have an issue with insecurity. And that's why you get the climate you get. And the problem is, Tony Khan, listen, I really honestly don't have any issue with him. I am very much appreciative that this guy doesn't have a wife, doesn't have kids, has so much money that he just wants to piss it away and drop hundreds of millions just so he could live out his dream, and we get to do it for free. We get to do it for free. It's like some fucking fat billionaire on the corner of my house. Nobody likes him. Everybody thinks he's weird. And because he's got so much money, he decides, you know what? It's a nice sunny day. I'm going to have animals, and I'm going to have water rides, and I'm going to give free food to the whole neighborhood. And we're going to have DJ Khalif, and we're going to have DJ this, and we're going to do this. We're going to have dancers, and we're going to have clowns, and we're going to blow balloons. And we all go over like, oh man, this is great. Free food, free this, free this. You're a fucking whack job. Free this, free this, free this. And he feels great. Oh my God, look at the turnout. Look at how many people are at my house right now. Look at this. We got clowns. We got food. We got games. We got this, all this entertainment. Hey, great fucking party. We're just there because we're free. When we watch it on TV, we're just enjoying it. He's the one pissing away the money, and we're enjoying it. So I want AEW to stick around. But at the end of the day, this guy is just as wacky as the people online. That's why WWE has to be the enemy. Tony Khan's biggest mistake in anything that he does with AEW, and why AEW doesn't grow or have this better aura about itself, it's simple. A large portion of AEW's audience also watches WWE. Period. A lot of wrestling fans watch both products. And when you have this weird whack job fan base that keeps telling you that WWE is evil, WWE is the bad guy, WWE sucks, and any this and that, and WWE is the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling, and then you get some chubby guy on a radio show like, would you like to have a fantasy big show with WWE? Oh, I would love to have that, but I don't think that'll ever happen. Well, maybe because you fucking called them the Harvey Weinstein, and a lot of whack jobs follow you, and they call WWE the Harvey Weinstein as well, or you perceive WWE PR as evil, so a lot of other people perceive WWE as evil. Make everybody feel like, wow, this is great. Wow, AEW is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. AEW does not feel cool. I don't care how many women go like this with their tits. I don't care how many women kiss. I don't care how many weapons you use. I don't care how much blood is used. I don't care how many people say shit. I don't care how many you wanted to push this envelope. A lot of these people, it feels like they're forced. Like, hey, we're hip, we're cool, we could curse. We have girls kissing. We have girls bleeding. We have weapons. We have this. We have chair shots. We have this. Doesn't feel cool. It feels like we do what we want. Doesn't feel cool. A lot of AEW's perception, stop with the WWE evil stuff. Just fucking make everybody feel like, hey, it's cool alternative. That's what TNA's doing right now. TNA is not trying to rip AEW. They're not ripping WWE. They're not ripping anybody in wrestling. They're having a good time. They're having a good time. And people are starting to realize, hey, you know what? I kind of enjoy the product. Kind of getting a kick out of it right now. The NXT stuff feels very one-sided. Doesn't matter. AEW should take a page from TNA right now. And AEW could do a hell of a lot better. Almost broke my mouse along this. I don't know why, but. So no, the toxicity will never go away. It'll always be around. And honestly, it's the minority of AEW, but it's the loudest part of AEW. There's a lot of legit AEW fans out there that are mad cool that I'm friends with. And they just keep quiet. They keep silent. They just enjoy the wrestling. But the loudmouths out there are the ones that have the biggest fragile egos. And unfortunately, there are other people that have power and money that do the same exact thing. So, Roger Rubio. Hey, DT, sorry for getting here late. Just done watching Blake Snell complete a no-hitter for the Giants. Blake Snell, that is a player, if I remember correctly, he was on the Tampa Bay Rays. I remember him come into baseball a few years ago, and I thought that the Mets or the Yankees were going to get him. And Blake Snell, definitely talented. I remember he got injured a couple of years ago as well. But that guy is somebody Very, very talented. Congrats to him. He got a no-hitter tonight. That's awesome, man. Blake Snell. What number was he in the Tampa Bay Rays? I think it was a singular number. Was it? No, wait. No, I'm thinking of, no, yeah. I was going to say number 12. You know who number 12 was? Anybody remember Jose Berrios from the Twins? Jose Berrios from the Twins? That's a guy I always wanted to see play for New York. So, Psycho, it's not the inmates running the asylum. There's just the immaturity there that is accepted, and that's why you see stupid flare-ups. As far as this Britt Baker being suspended thing, you know, I know a lot of you want me to comment on that, but thank you, Roger, for that. And congrats again to Blake Snell. What is Blake Snell, number 8? No, number 6? I don't know. I'm just trying to remember his jersey number back in the day. I know it was a different number, but for those that want me to comment on it, because I see some of you brought it up, and Mark Hicks, shout out to you, my friend. 27 months. Member to made men and women of this family. Do I think Britt is done with AEW? No. She's going to have the all-in match with Mercedes Moné at Wembley. Britt Baker's not going to walk away from that exposure and that payday in a high-profile match simply because she's not too thrilled that Alicia Tout, MJF's girlfriend, got signed with AEW back in June, and apparently there's some issues, the way people talk and the way people act backstage. And, MJF heard about it, and he had words with Britt Baker, and he got so pissed off about it, he put his hand through a wall. And then that's the story going around right now. I think Fightful put something out today that kind of clears this up a little bit. You know, one thing I will say that I know Fightful did put out, MJF did not storm into the women's locker room because people are like, oh, how could he go into the women's locker room? These are the same wackos. Let's keep it nice. Those are the same wackos that were uncomfortable when CM Punk hugged Zoe Stark when he gave her, surprised her with her first ever wrestling action figure. Kev, by the way, shout out to Kev, did a fabulous fucking rant Monday. That was award-winning, Kev. He ripped the crap out of people Monday for that. Listen, we don't know how much of this is true, but there was definitely an incident with Britt Baker, MJF, and Alicia Tout, and Britt Baker was suspended for 1 or 2 weeks from it. This happened 2 weeks ago. So if she's on Dynamite this Wednesday, the suspension lasted 2 weeks. If she's not on Dynamite this Wednesday, then the suspension will last 3 weeks. I don't know what went on, but I will say this. I have nothing against Alicia Tout. I have heard nothing but nice things about her. If people remember, I think like 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years, and I still have the tweet, and I'll show everybody a screenshot next week if you think I'm lying. Like 3 years ago, I think it was, I said 2 people that I say to look out for. It might be 4 years ago. I said 2 people I think could have a bright year the next year. One was Alicia Tout, and the other one was Killer Cross. And I put them both together. So Alicia Tout is very talented. I don't know why her or MJF rubbed Britt Baker the wrong way. I don't know any details behind it, but apparently it got back to, whatever was said, got to Alicia Tout. She gave it to MJF. MJF got pissed off, had a confrontation with Britt Baker, punched the wall, and Britt Baker got suspended over it. It is what it is. But I don't think Britt Baker's AEW career is over as a result. I got news for you. As crazy as this sounds, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bunch of people that are going to stick up for Britt Baker in this story. Britt Baker is, there's been rumors that she's rubbed people the wrong way behind the scenes in AEW. I know people are immediately going to say, oh, Thunder Rosa. But there are other people that have a complete opposite view. It's kind of like CM Punk. CM Punk, you know, some people would want you to believe in AEW that he was this big toxic asshole, you know, just out for the money and the power and didn't give a shit about AEW, was just a troublemaker. And there's a lot of other people that are like, nah, man, he went out of his way to try to help me. He did this, he did this, he did this. It was just that you had people in power that never liked CM Punk, thought CM Punk was a threat. You know, I said this a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, year and a half ago. I said CM Punk truly was the voice of the voiceless in AEW. There are a lot of people in AEW that unfortunately could not open their mouth because AEW is their livelihood. The money they make in AEW, they would never get in the WWE, and they would probably never get in the indie circuit. So they were forced to keep silent. So CM Punk opening his mouth, there were a lot of people, and I know this for a fact, there were a lot of people in AEW that cheered when CM Punk first opened his mouth. And I'm talking about the media scrum when he got into it with the Elite. You know, a lot of people were very, very happy about that because a lot of people could not open their mouth, and he kind of opened their mouths for him. He truly was the voice of the voiceless. So, okie dokie. Believe it or not, we've gone already an hour and 5. So we'll continue this a little bit more. I don't want to overload everybody because we've been doing those daily updates. They've been averaging about 30 minutes a pop. I think we have one report that was like 18 minutes. Trust me, that was fun. Go through that, and I'm like, wow, it's done already. So light news days will be fun. Tristan, what are my thoughts when I first saw the finger poke of doom? I didn't think it was the death of WCW. Let me put it that way. I thought it was a storyline where Hogan swerved everybody and Kevin Nash swerved everybody, and they were actually in allegiance with each other. See, look, I'm not going to have a history lesson right now with that storyline. But the storyline was that, you know, Hogan ended up being in bed with Kevin Nash. And I remember Tony Schiavone was like, what? What's going on here? What happened? What is it? And us at home, we were like, motherfucker. Hogan got himself in power, swerved everybody. Kevin Nash, it was bad. It was bad. Was it the death of WCW? No. Was it stupid? Yes. Was it something that people were talking about every single week? Wow, that's going to come back to haunt them. That's the turning point. No. It was cumulative. It's just that the finger poke of doom is a great visual way to reflect. If you think of the demise of anybody, think of the demise of anybody or anything. You will find something that is not the biggest reason why they failed. But visually, it's a great example. It's a visual is everything. When you look at these dark side of the rings, you look at the death of this, why this failed, and this and that, there's always a visual of one particular moment that everybody likes to focus on because that's how you remember it. You look at the finger poke of doom. You look at Vince Russo winning the championship. You look at David Arquette winning the championship. You look at, you know, individual things. But in the end, it was cumulative. It was stupid. It felt storyline. See, what you all need to realize if you weren't a wrestling fan at that time is the WCW championship belt changed hands so fucking often. Like, this was not where the belt had not changed hands for a long time, and then they just did this huge finger poke swerve and pissed everybody the fuck off. You know, a lot of people's thoughts were, someone else is going to win the belt in a week or two, couple of weeks. That belt changed hands so much at that time. The finger poke of doom was just annoying. It was stupid. But most people thought, Hogan's not going to have the belt that long. You know? That's how we looked at it. Raul Harris. Shout out to you, my friend. He is a member of the family for a year. Celebrating a year. How was my day, DT, and how's Bella and Bruno? They are inside annoying the shit out of my wife right now. I got to take them to the vet. Oh, take Bruno to the vet tomorrow. He's I can't bring him in here. I'm almost tempted to. He's really hairy right now. He's getting his final rabies shot tomorrow. So next week we could get him groomed. I'll see. You know, maybe I can bring him in here. Let me see. Honey. She ain't gonna hear me. I got to bring my phone in here in the future so I could text message instead. I'll shout one more time. You know what? I'll mute my mic. Let me just see. I muted my mic for a few seconds because something tells me those on audio only would be a little annoyed, like, stop yelling in my ear. Yeah, maybe next week I'll show you. I'll show you him. He's cute. He's only like 4 pounds. He's about 4 months old now, and he's a terror. I call him Gizmo. You know what? I think they're right over here. Hold on a second. Forget it. Next week. Let's see. All right, let's get some more questions. I'm not a big fan of Dark Side of the Ring. You know, when it first came out, it was okay. It felt like they sensationalized and left out a lot of things to make certain directions seem worse. But then they started profiling people that really made no sense, to be honest with you. They're coming out with another season. You know what it feels like? It feels like if we make $1, then at least we're not losing money. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't see them profiting big off this. There isn't big ad revenue coming out of this. So it's almost like, hey, we're breaking even. So let's keep doing it because at least we're doing something and we'll have a legacy. Remember the 10 years of Dark Side of the Ring? We'll create a legacy. We're not losing much money. We're not really making much money, but we're not losing much money. So let's just keep doing them. Let's profile, Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody number 3 in the next season. Shout out to DeMarcus. DeMarcus putting over Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. Says that they have a really good chemistry. Sounded like Melo hinted at a best of 7. Why not? I have nothing against that. I think the fans would like it. The only problem I have with it is that there's no titles on the line. I mean, having Melo and Andrade take up a match every single week for the next 7 weeks, I don't know how I feel about that. You know, if you're going to do it on some house shows as well, that's fine with me. But I kind of prefer to have titles on the line when you do a best of 7. Crowd is into it. Don't get me wrong. How many people are, I got to see Melo and Andrade tonight? Hey, listen, it gives those 2 guys a purpose. You know, Andrade is extremely freaking talented, and a lot of people feel like he's stuck in the mud ever since he left AEW. I don't see him interacting much with Charlotte Flair on camera when Charlotte returns. So if they do a best of 7, I'm for it. I just wish that there was a title on the line. So at least you're gunning for something. It's like, okay, you know it's going to go probably to 7. And then what happens when you get to 7? Like, you almost feel like Melo would have to come out on top, especially since Melo's been losing so much since he's been on the main roster. So if you're doing that to get Melo to win a best of 7, okay. But then what? After 7 weeks, you feel like, okay, now what do you do with them? So I'm for the best of 7. Thank you, DeMarcus, for that. Chaos Theory. Am I good with Trump or am I going with the woke agenda? How do I see our lives if they steal it again for her? I don't like politics, period. If it was up to me, I'd like to go like this and it's 4 years later, you know? I'm not thrilled on either side. Financially, I think the country may be better financially with Trump. And I only say that because I think back of 4 years ago, and I think back of when gas was $2 a gallon and cheese was $5 a pound instead of $15 a pound. I also feel that COVID fucked a lot of things up. I honestly, as of right now, people like, am I voting in November? And as of right now, my answer, I think, is still no. It's still no. If you put, a pistola to my head and you said, hey, DT, you got to fucking vote. You don't fucking vote. Boom. Who you going with? Pistola to the head. DT, who you going with? If I was forced to, probably would go with Trump. Just being honest, because I need financially things to improve. My main concern is finance. First and foremost, finance. That's my biggest concern because, I'm in a hole right now, financially, really fucking hard. And then I got 2 demons now inside that I got to take care of. And, you're spending $300 a month for pet insurance and then you got to fucking feed them. Who'd have ever thought you got to feed dogs? Then they got to get groomed. Otherwise, they look like a giant fucking Brillo pad. I want to bring him in here just so you could see how hairy this thing is. Honestly, if it was the 70s, it kind of, you remember porn stars in the 70s, how everything down there was bushy, hairy? This is the dog version of it. It's looks like 70s porn. Actually, almost looks like, 70s when you used to have the hair like this. That's what it looks like. But yeah, finances is my number one problem right now, more than anything. If I thought that Kamala Harris and whoever she chooses would improve the economy, I would give it a shot. I just look at the last 4 years and I don't feel like financially things have been better. You could promise this, you could promise that, you could promise this, but a lot of promises have been made even the last 8 years and we did not get what we were promised. So Psycho votes for me. I tell you, you'd be surprised how many people wanted me to run for the board for the buildings that I'm in, because I live in a complex and they have this big board that votes on stuff. And several years ago, quite a few people please run for the board. Your mindset for the board. And I was like, you're not going to really get paid for it. So you going to put that much work in it and not get paid? I would never be the mayor of New York. Roderick Howard, any thoughts on Solo Sikoa since WrestleMania? I think he's especially found his stride over the last month or so. Somebody tried to throw me a curveball about a month ago. And I'm glad that I questioned it because I like to do my research with anything. That's how we uncover some wild stats sometimes. The Meechin stuff. We covered some pretty wild stuff about Meechin when you think about it. Especially that win that she got 2 weeks ago, which we knew was nothing. It was just more for the Nia Jax storyline. But that was Meechin's first ever win in singles competition on the main roster. Ever. Retribution, not Retribution, Ultravision. That was the first time ever. Nobody really ever, people realized it after. But here's the thing with Solo Sikoa. Up until this past month, I think he's only had two singles wins in his last 50 singles matches. Go look it up. Dominic Mysterio. Get a load of this. When Dominic Mysterio, even though he pinned his father recently in a tag match with Liv Morgan, I'm pretty sure that if you research Dominic Mysterio over the last year or so, in the last 50 singles matches, Dominic is 2-48. And this motherfucker was the NXT North American champion. So when you really think about it, it's kind of crazy to realize that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on, man. Solo Sikoa, his win-loss record is horrendous, even now with the Bloodline storyline as it is. I personally think Solo Sikoa is doing fine. Is he a future main eventer? I don't see it. Although I would pay to see him main event against Roman Reigns. Solo Sikoa, I watched him before he went to WWE. I watched all his NXT stuff. I know I've said this before, I was at NXT on my honeymoon when he won the North American Championship, and then he had to forfeit it because he was on the main roster. I was there that day when he won it. Solo Sikoa is talented. Did I ever think that he could pull off this tribal chief persona that he's doing right now? No. So I think he's doing a good enough job. I mean, at the end of the day, Roman Reigns is here, Solo Sikoa is here. And I also feel Jacob Fatu is here, Solo Sikoa is here. Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa are close. The only person in the bloodline that is lower than Solo Sikoa is Tonga Loa. If Solo Sikoa is here, Tonga Loa is below my balls right now. Tonga Loa, they put the patch on him because they're like, we don't want him to win. You know, we thought that Tonga Loa was going to wrestle tonight. And Kevin and I talked about it. You guys talked about it as well. Tonga Loa feels like what Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro were in the LWO, with all due respect. You know, it just felt like, they don't see him on the same level as those other guys. So we don't, Tonga Loa, tag champion? Let's put a fucking eye patch on him and say he's injured. So we could use the excuse. That's the truth. Nothing against him personally. I'm not against Tonga Loa. But my perception of Tonga Loa since he's been back, and it's not even Clash at the Castle where he couldn't even do a nut shot. I didn't even talk about that on the recap. I was like, you know what? I felt bad. And at the same time, though, you know, the timing was off, but Tonga Loa is all the way down here. I don't want to say Akira Tozawa level, but Tonga Loa to the bloodline is kind of like what Akira Tozawa was with Alpha Academy. He's the only reason why they have the eye patch on him is because we don't want to put tag title on him. You got to put on the true badasses of the bloodline, Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. How's my father doing, Jeff? He's okay. He's all right. You know, he's getting by. You know, my mom's getting by too. You know, she, I think, has to go for plastic surgery in about a month because she had the breast cancer surgery. I did not realize how serious that was. She won't even go in a pool. I mean, it's not like my mom would go in a pool topless, but she won't even like put on a bathing suit because, you know, like, yeah. So, yeah, family to me is everything. Seriously. You know, my family is most important part of my life. And that's why even, like I say, this is not to kiss ass or anything like that. Like, for me, when you talk about elections and politics and all the bullshit going on in this world, for me, all I care about is my family, my friends, everybody I talk to here online, my hobbies, my shows, my dogs. That's it. That's it. My family, my friends, my wife, my dogs, my hobbies, my shows, all of you. That's it. Period. I wouldn't say Solo is the Wheeler Yuta of the bloodline because Wheeler Yuta is not main eventing any big time pay-per-views anytime soon against the top of AEW. Solo Sikoa, people will pay to see Roman Reigns beat the shit out of Solo Sikoa. You know what the only problem is? How do you put... In fact, I don't even think you can, the more I think about it. Roman Reigns is still the tribal chief. Roman Reigns is still the tribal chief. Yeah, there can be more than one tribal chief, obviously. Just like the Godfathers. You have the five families. You have multiple Godfathers. There's more than one tribal chief here. Because you can't have, this is just my opinion, you cannot have Roman Reigns battle Solo Sikoa for the rights to be tribal chief. Because that almost sounds too gimmicky. What are you going to put, Ufa Falata, whatever it is called, on a pole? The Ufa Falata on a pole. Whoever grabs it, you're tribal chief. I mean, of course, they're not going to do that. But it's more than just wearing a piece, a neck piece. So when Roman comes back, it's like what Cody Rhodes said today. Solo Sikoa is a wannabe tribal chief. Remember, the family has not acknowledged Solo Sikoa as a tribal chief. You did not get a Rikishi. I want to be a dick and say, you obviously can't get a Sika, but you don't see the elders celebrating Solo Sikoa. The Solo Sikoa has all the powers in his mind. He's not the tribal chief. Roman Reigns is still the tribal chief. But people will pay to see Roman main event against Solo Sikoa. Shit. Look at tomorrow, SummerSlam. They're probably going to go off the air with Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. They have to. Now they're doing bloodline rules, so you kind of feel like the Usos have to get involved in that match. Randy Orton's probably going to get involved in that match. Kevin Owens is probably going to get involved in that match. I don't think Roman Reigns gets involved, but you kind of feel like Roman's got to come back. That crowd is going to chant so goddamn loud at SummerSlam, we want Roman. There's going to be some very, 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 very angry people, whether live or at home, if Roman Reigns does not appear. What are you going to do? Have him appear of bad blood? SummerSlam is their number 2 event, even in the future. SummerSlam will be WWE's number 2 event next to WrestleMania. I feel bad for giving an incomplete answer when I say this, but Raul Harris is asking me, what is my favorite SummerSlam moment and match? I'd have to go back and look at every SummerSlam. Probably growing up, the Mega Powers exploding. Hogan and Savage. The Mega Powers explode. What, that was SummerSlam, right? Or am I thinking SummerSlam 88? SummerSlam 88 has, SummerSlam 88 is my bittersweet memory. Here, for some of you out there, I promise you'll appreciate this. Growing up Don Tony story. Some of you know this story, right? It's a pretty cool story. I went into the Navy in 1988. I got thrown out of my house for stealing and no place to go. My Uncle Joe took me in for a day or two, and he's like, look, you can't stay after this. You got to make a decision. And I don't know who suggested it, but someone said, go into the Navy. Just get away from everything right now. You're going to be homeless. You got no money. Go into the Navy. And me, I signed up for the Navy. My uncle took me to the recruiting. I signed up. Within, I think, a week, I was in Chicago. I went into the Navy. So I go to the Navy, and I'm over 300 pounds. And I get there, and everybody's like, you're too fat to be in the Navy. What are you doing here? And I'm like, nah, they let me in. And they're like, nah, you're too fat. And then I got extremely depressed. I was in boot camp, and I saw 2 people commit the S word. Kind of rhymes with cyanide, if you know where I'm going. Well, no, it doesn't rhyme, but you know what I mean. Saw 2 people do that in our camp. And one guy, the way he did it was just bizarre. He filled up his mouth with shaving cream and suffocated to death. That's how depressed some people got. I wanted out. I got an honorable discharge. And the reason why they let me go is because of shin splints and blood pressure. So I got an honorable discharge for shin splints and blood pressure. So what does this have to do with SummerSlam? So now I'm going home. I'm ready to go home. I got my date, whatever it was. It was, I think, in August. And about 3 days before I go home, I get the chicken pox. I'm in my bed, and I'm like, and all of a sudden, like, I go like this, and I feel like waterish. And I go to the bathroom, and I got chicken pox. They put you in a hospital. Obviously, you can't spread it to others. They put me in a hospital, and they said I have to stay in the hospital, I think, for a week or 2 weeks. I don't remember how long it was. But they're like, no, you're quarantined. You can't go home yet. I remember them putting me in a hospital bed, having me eat ice pops. And I'm laying in the bed, and I hear in the other room, SummerSlam 88. And a bunch of Navy guys, officers, are watching SummerSlam on pay-per-view. And I'm laying in a hospital bed. Unfortunately, there's no satellite TV in boot camp in the 80s. And I'm listening to it. I'm trying to hear it. And then all of a sudden, I hear about Miss Elizabeth wearing some type of bikini outfit. And I swear on a stack of Bibles, I hear these Navy guys going, oh, my God, look at her. She's fucking hot. I'd fuck her. Like this. And I'm like, what? I wasn't buddy with them. They were like, hey, come here, go look. I was in bed. I couldn't do nothing. So I came home like a week and a half after SummerSlam, and I don't remember who it was, my friends, but I was like, did anybody record SummerSlam? There was no replays a week or two later, and nobody had the replay of SummerSlam. So I'm watching like Superstars or something because I want to see what the fuck everybody was talking about with Miss Elizabeth. And then I saw the yellow, and I was like, wow. And it was pretty hot, you know. Was it like Jit Gel material? No, I wouldn't say that. But I do remember having the chicken pox, laying in bed, being forced to kind of try to hear SummerSlam in the background. And then when Miss Elizabeth came out, everybody was making a big deal about it. That's probably my wildest SummerSlam memory. That is true story. I have many of them. Chaos Theory, when is Brock coming back? Very, very soon. As I said earlier this week in one of the daily news updates, I still appreciate Meltzer, but he's talking through his ass that WWE lawyers told WWE, do not bring Brock back while this lawsuit is going on. That fucking lawsuit could go on for years and years and years. They're not going to be like, Brock, you come in 2027. They'll bring Brock back sooner than you realize. And what will happen is Brock will come back, and social media for about 24 hours, you'll get the unhinged that'll be like, how the fuck could you bring him back after what he's alleged in a Janelle Grant lawsuit? Then you'll get some people that'll kind of like play common sense and say, what did he do? What did he do? He almost had sex with someone? He almost cheated on his wife? What did he do? He didn't, I mean, I'm not sticking up for anybody, but yeah, what did Brock Lesnar do? If there's anything he did wrong, he was a bad husband. I don't think that's enough to like prevent him from coming back while that lawsuit is going on. Brock Lesnar will be back sooner than you think. Could they wait until the Rumble? I don't know. I don't work there. But Brock Lesnar will be back sooner. And then when he does come back and the Janelle Grant lawsuit is still going on, let's see how these people spin it. WWE felt that since there's no evidence, our sources tell us that since there's no evidence that Brock Lesnar actually committed a crime or actually did not physically do anything other than a few text messages, the WWE felt that it was the time to bring him back. WWE originally was not going to bring him back until after the lawsuit was finalized. But then they realized that the lawsuit may go on for years. And they realized that Brock Lesnar really didn't do anything other than maybe be a bad husband. And they felt that for the sake of wrestling, we bring him back. Mark my words. Mark Hicks, a little CM Punk comment. Bobby Means a little CM Punk comment. Rollins and Punk will be epic. But the more he thinks about it, the more he hopes Punk beats the shit out of Rollins. And Mark says, do I think Punk will get hurt again in this match with Drew? Punk Rollins is going to be fun. One of them I kind of feel has to turn heel by 41. Who it is, I don't know yet. I hope Punk does not get injured again anytime soon. You know, even if you don't like Punk. I'd rather Punk be on a show wrestling than him not be on a show wrestling. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, he's not going to be more than 15 minutes of the entire SummerSlam. So I'd rather him be able to work in the ring. I think it'd be a lot of fun to see other people that Punk could go at. So I hope he doesn't get injured. I really don't. Joseph says Elizabeth was his first wrestling crush. Yeah, I think that's mine too. I mean, I first started watching wrestling in 79, and I didn't really start watching on a weekly basis, I think, until 82. And there was no women in the WWF at that time. You had some women's wrestlers, but, you know, I mean, they kind of just, I don't know. They just, then again, I was very, very young at that time. You're talking like, 11, 12 years old. So I really wasn't looking at girls that way. But even like, the women that wrestled, like the Jumping Bomb Angels might have been a little bit later. I know they wrestled in the 70s, but nobody really comes to mind at that time. Moolah absolutely was not a crush. We did see little Moolah here and there, but no, I think Miss Elizabeth may have been my first wrestling crush. I think it probably was. Jeff is asking worst mirror match: Undertaker versus Undertaker, Kane versus Kane, Sin Cara versus Sin Cara. Well, Sin Cara versus Sin Cara was, they faced in the I don't give a shit match. So I really didn't care about Sin Cara versus Sin Cara. Kane versus Kane, I just never was feeling it either. I got news for you. Legit. I know this is such an unpopular thing to say. I liked the storyline of Undertaker versus Undertaker. When Brian Lee came out with the Undertaker outfit, I mean, he looked like he needed to eat a couple of sandwiches. I mean, Brian Lee was a big boy. I met Brian Lee when he was in ECW. Brian Lee is bigger than you think, size-wise. But then you realize when you put him next to Undertaker, Brian Lee is kind of like if you buy Undertaker on Wish. But I thought he pulled it off. The problem that Brian Lee had as Undertaker was that he couldn't get himself to slow down to methodical levels. See, Undertaker was almost like Michael Myers. All right. And I'm not going to do Michael Myers impersonations right now, but Michael Myers, if you remember the original Halloween 2 is my favorite Halloween of all time. But if you remember, whenever Michael Myers would get knocked down, whether he was shot at or whatever it is, like he would get up and it would be very slow and very methodical. He'd be like this. I mean, you could even go like Devo and be like, do the robot. But Undertaker, when you would knock Undertaker down, he would always get up slow. If he was laid out, he would get up like this, like really slow. Brian Lee could never get himself slow enough. Brian Lee always was a little bit too fast in getting up for moves. But the WrestleMania match was very underwhelming. The tombstones, like the first one, he gets up. I think the second one he got up. And the third one, he kind of got up and fell back. I haven't watched that match in decades. But I actually liked the storyline leading up to the match. Undertaker versus Undertaker was not as bad as what people perceive it to be. Because the WrestleMania payoff match was very underwhelming, that's why it gets on so many WrestleCrap matches, countdowns. If that WrestleMania match would have been good or better, you would not have people talking about the whole storyline leading up to it. It was not as bad. So out of everything, probably Sin Cara versus Sin Cara, it was kind of like, I didn't give a shit about that. Chaos Theory says Braun Breaker is going to be a star for sure, but that name is horrible. Do I see any chance of him going back to the Steiner name that he should have? I have no problem with Braun Breaker. Google why he came up with that name. I don't have any issue with the name. Is it the greatest name out there? No. Braun is not a bad name. You know, if you think of the Steiners, you know, look at their name. You know, like their last name is not Steiner. It's their name. It's longer. You know, it's a longer name. I don't really have an issue with Braun Breaker's name. I really don't. I mean, I remember when the Viking Raiders first came up to the main roster. And people were like, why are they calling them the Viking Raiders? It sounds like two NFL football teams. And I remember I think Kevin and I were doing shows before we had the falling out. I think we covered that. And we were like, man, I'd rather have a shitty name and they get pushed the right way. And then shortly thereafter, they were doing the dumb skits with the Street Profits, and then COVID hit. I don't have an issue with Braun Breaker. We know who he is. We know his background. He's acting like Steiner. He looks like Steiner. Braun Breaker is kind of his own identity. I don't have an issue with it. I would not get caught up on a name so much. Look, I remember when they changed Walter to Gunther. And I swear to you, go back to the night they changed it and I covered it. And I was like, I like the name. It sounds German. It sounds intimidating. It sounds evil. And I even said it Monday, Walter sounds like a dog's name. Walter, come here, Walter. Woof, woof. Like, and Gunther said it in interviews. And he's so spot on when he said this. Gunther said, if my name was originally Gunther and they changed it to Walter, everybody would have had the same reaction. That is so spot on. I like Gunther. Gunther. And if you remember, we used to say that first week, we say, don't say Gunther, because a lot of people were saying, remember Gunther Stark? And then I remember there was an event where Gunther and Zoe Stark were on the same card. I'm like, look, Gunther Stark. We're on the show. People would call him Gunther Stark. Do you remember when we first covered him? What did we say? Don't call him Gunther. Gunther. It sounds international, evil. Gunther. Yeah, Samantha Irvin is great, man. Even if she didn't have that body, even if she looked like an eyesore, I still love the way she announces people. Oh, I think I could bring the dog in now. I muted my mic for a second. I can't be this like blocked out noise-wise. I mean, I know I soundproof this room a little bit so my neighbors don't get upset when we're doing shows late at night, but for some reason they can't hear me. I was going to bring the dog in, but nobody could hear me. So, all right, we're going to start wrapping this up. Let's bring this home, because in less than 24 hours, we have SummerSlam. It is going to be a really, really good one. Top to bottom, I mean, you really can't complain on much. We already did predictions on Monday. I mean, match-wise, I don't see any real surprises. I think Gunther and Damian Priest might be the one that is stumping most people. See, when I look at the predictions that a lot of you post, whether it's Patreon or channel members on YouTube, I take note on some matches to see, like, is there anything like really, really split? And Damian Priest and Gunther seems to be the one that people are most split on. I will tell you this, and look, we're almost at midnight, so it's not going to matter. But for everyone that's not even in the contest, you'll get a kick out of this. I put bonus questions. Will the Usos show up? Will Dom turn on Rhea? Will Rhea dump Dom? Will Dom kiss Liv? Will Seth Rollins get physical? Another one I put was choose, will anybody bleed? And if somebody bleeds, pick a wrestler. If anybody will bleed. Now, most people chose no one because WWE doesn't know. I think I hear. All right, this is the last time I promise no more. Honey, bring Bruno here, please. Please. All right. I heard water running, bathrooms right behind me. She's going to bring Bruno in. So you'll all meet Bruno. Cute dog. Very, very fucking hairy right now. Bring Bruno in here. All right. I'm going to show you Bruno. You all know Bella already, so most of you have seen Bella. Oh, here's Bella. Bella. Come here, little girl. Come here, little girl. Come here. Little girl.
Here you go.
Let me see. Hold on.
Her butt's a little wet.
Hold on. All right, pick up Bella for me. All right, everybody. Here's Bruno.
His ears are down.
Hey, Bruno. He looks like Gizmo. He's brown.
He needs a haircut.
I don't know. I don't have many. I never see many dogs that have like this brown of a face. Bruno. Hey, Bruno. Very, very hairy, right? Like 70s porn. That's Bruno. Say hi, Bruno. That's Bruno.
Put him down.
Okay.
I had to wash her ass. She took it.
And here's Bella. This is how big Bella's gotten. Hello, my little girl. Hey. Hello, my she loves me. She's hey Bella, look. Give me a little girl. No, she wants to lick my neck. Give me a Bella. Turn around. Look, easy. Little girl. Oh my God. Come here, look. Hold it. Oh, hey. Come on, I'm doing a show. People are gonna get mad. Hey, look. Say hi. It's Bella. You need a haircut too. Hey. You love you, Daddy? You love you, Daddy? All right. Come on. I got to put you down. Come on. Bella's she's about 10 pounds now, and Bruno's about 4.5. So go on my Twitter. You'll see a good video of them. They're very, very cute. So, all right. A lot of you wanted to see them, so there you go. She got big. What were we talking about? Gunther and blood. Okay. So one of the bonus questions, I said blood. And I said, will anybody bleed? And choose a wrestler. And I noticed some people chose Damian Priest. And I thought that was such a smart answer because you kind of feel that Gunther is going to chop the shit out of Damian Priest's chest and probably draw blood from his chest. So if any of you chose Damian Priest and Damian Priest even bleeds on his chest, that actually is a legit answer. So I don't think Braun and Sammy is going to be as long of a match as people think. I think Braun Breaker absolutely is winning that belt, and Sammy can then focus, more bloodline stuff. I mean, they're going to take the scenic route with that, so it's going to take a while before Sammy, realigns. But, I expect Bloodline to invade Raw actually, God damn it, Brainstorm. No, it's not a brainstorm. I almost had it. I forgot we have 2 sets of tag titles. It's like, they put the tag belts on the Bloodline so they could show up at Raw. Well, I still think they're going to show up at Raw. I think the Bloodline may try to take out Jey Uso and Sammy will come to his aid. Not now, but in the future. And then that's kind of how you bring it to Survivor Series. So Tristan is asking, do I think Kamala will eventually be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame? Yes, I do. I feel bad for what happened to Kamala. And I'm not just talking about losing the leg. Kamala really, really financially was downtrodden. And, you know, without getting into a whole long story, because we're going to wrap this up in 10 minutes. A lot of you remember Dawn Marie's Wrestler's Rescue. I was involved with that. And I was involved in all that controversy between Dawn Marie and Kamala. And, you know, this is so unpopular. And again, this is why I don't like investigating stuff anymore. But Kamala made some incorrect accusations towards Dawn Marie. The thing is that Dawn Marie was trying to raise money to help wrestlers in need. And I don't want to say it like this, but it kind of felt like Kamala thought that everything, you know, like everything should go to him at the moment because he needed it. And, you know, he accused her of some things that were wrong. And I still have emails from Dawn Marie back then. And I have emails from Kamala kind of catching him in a couple of lies. And some of you will remember, anybody that goes back with me a long way will remember that I used to go on my show and a couple of episodes, I criticized the shit out of Kamala. And I think he lost his leg afterwards. I don't remember if it was before or after. I think it was afterwards. And people were just really, really angry with me. You know, I don't think anybody went racial on me because that's one thing I was fearing at the time. Like, you know, I didn't want to deal with anybody trying to call me a racist because I was calling out Kamala for lying about things. But, you know, in hindsight, he was in desperate need for help. For real. He really needed help. And unfortunately, a lot of people in wrestling were not helping him. He had animosity towards WWE especially up to his grave. There was accusations of you know, being mistreated, racism. You know the stories about being underpaid. I think all that was valid on Kamala's part. It was a very sad story for him. He is now passed on, and I honestly think that his career should be celebrated with Vince McMahon no longer in power. Absolutely, I see Triple H inducting Kamala in the Hall of Fame. What I do think is going to be needed is Triple H obviously will have to reach out to his family and make sure that they are receptive of it and they be willing to accept the induction. I know there's no physical Hall of Fame, but they got to make peace and amends with that family because there were other individuals of Kamala's family that were very, very angry with WWE as well. So if Kamala goes into the WWE Hall of Fame, Triple H will have to make amends with that family. And I think that there is a good chance. I absolutely do. And I also think, and I'll say this before anybody asks, I think down the line, Owen Hart will be put in the WWE Hall of Fame. And I do believe that Martha Hart will appear. I mean, right now, obviously, she's involved with AEW. You know, it was funny last week when everybody was talking about Bret Hart making comments saying it'll ruffle WWE's feathers if he was involved in the Owen Hart tournament. It was amazing how almost nobody thought the obvious. The reason why Tony Khan never asked Bret Hart to be involved in the Owen Hart tournament is because Martha Hart is there. Not about ruffling WWE's feathers. It's ruffling Martha Hart's feathers. You know, I'm not aware of any peace made between Bret and Martha Hart. So Demolition will be in. Listen, as of right now, there's not many people that I would say won't be in because Triple H is there. Paul London won't be in the Hall of Fame. Ryback, you know, there's a few people that absolutely, even if they were worthy of it, will not be put in anytime soon. Yeah, you could go list a lot of people. You know, the problem is there's so many people that should have gone in years ago, and there's only so many you could put in every year. You know, WWE down the line may have to treat it more like the NFL Because doesn't the NFL put in like a lot more players every year? I mean, I haven't really paid attention closely to the NFL Hall of Fame, but a couple of times when I did, I could swear that they induct like a lot of people every year. Baseball, sometimes you get only 2 or 3, other than, people that were non-players. Chris Benoit will never be put in the Hall of Fame. Killed his wife, killed his kid. Doesn't matter if it happened in 2006 or 2026. Killed his wife, killed his kid. Doesn't go away. People could convince themselves that it was steroids, it was whatever it is. You don't know. You don't know. There's a lot of people who did roids that never killed anybody. He killed his wife, killed his kid. That doesn't go away. This is not like Pete Rose that, he bet on baseball. That was decades ago. He's learned his lesson. He hasn't been doing it since. He killed his wife, killed his kid. He will not be put in the Hall of Fame. No. Will never be put in the Hall of Fame. If Rob Black bought WWE and had his own Hall of Fame, then maybe Chris Benoit would get put in. And that's nothing against Rob Black. I'm just using someone who's kind of like a renegade and probably wouldn't give a fuck. Chris Benoit is not going in the Hall of Fame. All right. 2 more minutes. We are out of here. I'm looking at questions. Ben is asking, how funny is it Kamala, the wrestler's name, is the real last name of the presidential nominee? Yeah, it is. But I also think of Dixie Carter. We had Dixie Carter of TNA and Dixie Carter of Designing Women. Breaking news. You can have multiple people have the same name. It's just that who would have ever thought a famous wrestler and a famous actress or a famous wrestler? I mean, if you think about it, it's happened in wrestling more than you think. The first one that I remember back in the day was Steve Austin. When Steve Austin first came in as Steve Austin in wrestling, first Steve Williams, I think, and something else, and then Steve Austin. Like when I first heard it, I was like, the $6 million man. Why are they calling him Steve Austin? And I kind of expected Steve Austin to come out with that same music. We can rebuild him, but it felt a little odd early on. Like, why is he named after the $6 million man? But people forgot about it quickly. All right, 2 more questions and we're going to leave. Why is Sid still not in the Hall of Fame? Because they only put in a few people every year. And I honestly feel that Sid is definitely much more worthy than just the legacy wing of the WWE Hall of Fame. I think down the line, Sid Vicious, Sid Justice will be put in the Hall of Fame. Did he have a really good Hall of Fame career? No, but I think, listen, you're going to put Coco Beware in and some others. I think you can make a little room for Sid. I like Sid back in the day. I mean, Sid Vicious I thought was great. I thought his ECW stuff, Paul Heyman used them brilliantly. Sid Justice was good. I think Sid had a decent career. Borderline Hall of Fame, borderline. But there's only so many people you could put in every year, and there's such a backlog of people now. All right. Santos Escobar, would he benefit more without a stable? Not really. Because Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza are a tag team, and they're really identified more as a tag team. Elektra Lopez, I'm kind of surprised that she hasn't done more inside the ring. Santos Escobar, he's very talented. And I was noticing tonight, his nose is weird. You ever see his side profile? His nose is a little weird. But I don't think it would make much difference. I kind of think him having a stable is a little bit better because at least he can interact with some people. Like if he didn't have a stable right now, all he would be talking to is the camera. And I don't know how good that'll be. So, all right, I'm going to jet. We're right at the 2-hour mark. I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. If you enjoy what we do, spread the word. Let everybody know that DTKC show is back. We're now doing daily news updates 5 days a week. Every day except for Tuesdays mornings and Saturday mornings because we do the DTKC show and Tonight Show. But check out the updates if you haven't done so already. Download all the shows. Slowly, we're moving up on the charts. Kev took notice of it this week and was very, very happy. And as we continue growing, we will build a little bit more momentum. We will not stop until we reclaim our number one spot, period. We want to not get to number one. We want to reclaim what we had for years. We were the number one show for years online, and we want to reclaim that. And the only way we do that is by putting out content, good content, accurate content, stuff that you kind of find worthwhile. And, we just keep putting out, just good convo, good analysis, opinion. And most important, and I say this 27 years, I'll say it again to you now. The most important thing besides authenticity is that when we do shows, we talk to you. We don't talk at you. If you notice almost every other show out there, and let's be honest, even people that I get along with, they don't talk to you. They talk at you. Whether you tune in or not, they're going to say the same thing. We like to talk to you. We talk to you as if we're all hanging out, having a beer, having a drink, a barbecue, just talking about wrestling. The only difference is you unfortunately only get to hear my voice, and on Mondays you get to hear Kev and I together. But we always, from day one, always wanted to make sure that when we do these shows, it's a conversation. It's a conversation that is much different than what other people do. Now, yes, the daily news updates are not really conversation. It's just news straight to the point with a little bit of commentary put in with it. But for the most part, it's just giving you the news straight up. But we really take pride in what we do, and we thank you. And I thank you, El Guero, for that super sticker. Much appreciated. And I hope you all enjoy SummerSlam. Whether you're an AEW fan or not, if WWE puts out a banger for SummerSlam, it's a win for wrestling fans. It's not a loss for AEW. It's a win for wrestling. I think it's going to be phenomenal. Big question is, does Roman Reigns return? Like, I could see how they would tease it, and he doesn't. Like, you could picture Paul Heyman showing up. And I brought this up before. You could picture Paul Heyman showing up. Maybe the Usos show up. They take care of Solo Sikoa and the fake bloodline, even though they're tag champs. And then you could have him go off the air, and Paul Heyman is like, call Roman Reigns. Remember when I said the phone might be the most over thing? They could go that route. They could also go the route where Roman Reigns comes out at the very end. You kind of feel that should happen. Cleveland is expecting it. The wrestling fans are expecting it. Wrestling fans have wanted it since April. You kind of feel like you can't keep teasing it. There's a point where you got to kind of deliver. We'll see what happens. Kevin and I will talk about it on Monday after Raw. So enjoy the weekend. Enjoy SummerSlam. And you all be well. Have a good one, everybody. Talk to you all soon. Take care.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.